All right, good morning, everyone. I want to thank you all for being here as we convene this Board of Visitors meeting this morning. Your commitment to our mission and dedication to advancing our goals are deeply appreciated. Today's agenda is an important one, touching on key issues and opportunities that shape the future of Radford University. As we begin, let's keep in mind that our shared responsibility to serve in the best interest of those who we represent and ensure thoughtful and productive insight and conversation, which we have in the past. With that, let me go ahead and move on to the first line item here, which is calling for approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion, please? So moved. Can I get a second? All in favor? Aye, good deal. Thank you.
Mr. Rector.
Yes, sir.
I do have one change. I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Under the Business Affairs and Audit Committee, we need to add approval of the university's Crisis and Emergency Management Plan as an action item.
Good catch. All right, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And we'll make the adjustment, so thank you. All right. Okay, next I'd like to move into the approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, good deal. Thank you again. Next, we're moving pretty rapidly through this here, so which is good news. So the next thing we're moving to, the next area is the Radford experience. What I wanted to share that the stories we're here today illustrate the profound impact of thoughtful governance on our student body and also the university. So the topics that we hear today are ones we've kept near and dear to our hearts as we've gone through this prior year. One was the Radford Promise, which has been very impactful and also borrowed by several universities across the country. So they have the best form of flattery, right, which is people trying to mirror it. And then the next one is with regards to affordability. One of the things we talk about online and also offline is the importance of governance as we move forward, and also the impact we want to make on the Commonwealth and also this great university. And as we do that, sometimes we see the impact of it and sometimes we do not. Yesterday we saw it in the classroom when we, after our committee sessions, conversations, we actually went to a couple of classrooms as well as talking to students across campus. And what we heard was very impactful with regards to the students and why they chose to come to Radford University. And when you look, when you listen rather to their reasoning, it ties back to a lot of the work, not only that takes place here, but also across the university. And what is communicated to me is that I know that Dr. Bean started the Find Your Place Here, is that not only are the students finding their place here, so are the employees across the university, and you see it in the confidence, in their confidence. A lot of what we do and what we talk about here, we keep it at a pretty senior level. I want to make sure that we drive it down to the housekeeping, to the electricians, to the people who help keep this university clean. Because when everybody does their job, things look very, very spectacular. So it's important that we all find our place here, not only just the students, but also those who help serve our students and also the Commonwealth. All right. So, Dr. Bean, if you would, please.
Thank you, Rector Smith. I'm honored to kick off the final Board of Visitors meeting of 2024. And I want us to just pause and look around at all of the blessings of this year, the accomplishments that were shared yesterday by the vice presidents, the lives changed across campus, and the relationships formed in this room. We have a lot to be thankful for. And as leadership of Radford University, we should feel really great about being a Highlander right now. As you know, one of the major university initiatives this year was to offer the Radford Tuition Promise. Every day I meet a student who this promise changed their life. From a 65-year-old librarian from Giles County who said, I just really want to finish my history degree, to a mom of two who her and her husband strolled in their two toddlers at Quest, and she said, I'm ready for a career change, and the Promise is making this happen. The Promise has brought about transformation for individuals, our local communities, and the Commonwealth. by providing access to higher education for folks as far south as Washington County and as far east as Tidewater. There are nearly 2,000 students enrolled as undergraduates that are benefiting from this promise. And I am honored to invite two of those students to the microphone. So I invite Hannah and Roxanne to come up.
Hello and good morning. My name is Hannah Rourke, and I have found my place here. I am a graduate of Patrick Henry High School, and I am a freshman here at Radford, majoring in physical education. After visiting on a school trip, I became interested in the programs offered at Radford. Charles Salyers, my admissions counselor, was very helpful in assisting me in exploring these programs and learning about the many opportunities that Radford provides. My mother obtained her Master of Science in Educational Leadership at Radford when I was young. I remember attending her graduation and being in awe of the graduation ceremony. She is working on her Doctor of Education at Radford and continues supporting me in my endeavors. Even before I was interested in Radford, I was encouraged to explore it further by my mom. Another reason Radford became my top choice was because of the Radford tuition promise. It is very reassuring to know I can come all 4 years having my tuition covered. My experience since I have been at Radford, I have been very blessed with wonderful professors during my first semester. One professor who has stuck out to me is Mr. Eric Sorensen. During Hurricane Helene, my hometown flooded severely. Mr. Sorensen and his wife graciously donated items to help the families of my community. I have enjoyed meeting new people and experiencing the diversity of college life and finally being independent. I have been involved in the Christian ministry crew, and I have met many friends and mentors within this community. I have been very involved by going to small and large groups every Tuesday and Thursday. When I come to college, I was very nervous about my living situation and it being dirty. When I moved in, my dorm was very clean, and I have been very pleased with it so far. After I obtain my degree, I plan to move back to my hometown and work in the school system as a high school physical education teacher in Washington County, Virginia. I am looking forward to taking advantage of all the opportunities to become a leader at Radford University. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Roxanne and I'm a first-generation student who transferred to Radford University this fall. I graduated from Great Bridge High School in 2022 and then continued my studies at Tidewater Community College, and I'm currently in my third year of college, majoring in biomedical studies, and I absolutely love it here. A little backstory on me and what brought me to Radford is during my second year at TCC, I visited my best friend Taylor on her birthday. It was a little surprise me and my friends put together. She gave me a tour of the campus and showed me around her classes, and I quickly fell in love with Radford. It was such a beautiful campus. After that, I added Radford University to my list of four-year schools that I wanted to potentially research and look up. When I learned about the Radford Tuition Promise, I knew this was the place for me because I wouldn't have to stress financially, and I knew Radford would take care of me. So far, classes have been going really well. I'm a biomedical studies major. I take a lot of science courses, and the quality of the lab equipment here is incredible. I love doing experiments, and they're so much more enjoyable with access to great resources. After graduation, I plan to pursue pharmaceutical studies, and I'm looking around for that. I have truly found my place here at Radford, and I really want to thank the Board of Visitors and the administration for offering the Radford Tuition Promise, because that's the only reason that's the whole reason I came here. It really helped me. Thank you.
Thank you both for sharing your story. Greatly appreciated, and we're elated to have you here. So thank you for finding your place here. Okay, Mr. President?
Well, good morning, everyone. And as Danette reminded us, as we're drawing close to the close of this calendar year, I really did want to take a few minutes to recap all the successes we have had. We had an event on Wednesday night which was about gratitude for our community. And I want to tell you that it isn't the work that I've done, it isn't the work that the vice presidents have done, it's been the work of the Radford community as a whole that has made these achievements possible. That includes the Board of Visitors, our alumni, our students, our, especially our SGA, our faculty, all of our employees. It really is everybody that's working together to make these accomplishments possible. So I wanted to do, in some ways, a little bit of a victory lap over this past year and just remind us how far we have come, and so we can be proud. We can kind of share this pride, not just with each other, but also externally to the Commonwealth and beyond. Importantly, there's three big things, big topics that we made significant progress on. First, we kept tuition low and our degree pathways affordable. And for full-time undergraduate students who are residents of Virginia, we offer the fourth lowest total cost of attendance in the Commonwealth. But kind of uniquely, when we announced the Radford Tuition Promise last year, it was a national leading statement of affordability about making our institution accessible and affordable, and funded by a combination of federal and state and institutional funds. The promise was to offer an affordable pathway and reach students who are most in need, but also students well into the middle class. I mean, this really was a game changer, and it made a difference. So from some of the data you heard yesterday, we reached 6,161 undergraduate students and 1,651 graduate students for a total of 7,812 students. That's a significant enrollment increase, and it's the first enrollment growth since 2019. And the Radford Tuition Promise did underpin that enrollment growth and student retention. You heard some of that from Hannah and Roxanne and their personal experiences here. But ultimately, there was 2,292 students who were in-state, in-person undergraduates, full-time, who were eligible for the Tuition Promise. And that represented 45% of our new freshmen and 33% of all returning students. So this isn't a token program. This is a significant program here for our university. Through that program, we increased the yield of our first-time in college students by 3%, and we also increased our high-achieving applicants, which is individuals that have a GPA of 3.0 or more, by 20%. And we used the same aid dollars as previously available with, again, some institutional investment. And ultimately, by spending through that program, it performed much better, both in enrollment and financially, than we had projected. So the program that we're continuing into 2025, and looking at our enrollment projections, it appears to be a stable program that will last at least till 4 years, till our enrollment is stable, and then we'll continue to explore it in the future. As part of affordability, part-time employment is really important to a lot of students. So working together, we made the budget reallocation as a university to reset the minimum wage for all of our on-campus jobs for students at $15 an hour. That started this fall. And again, it was a budget priority for us, because then students who are needing to work part-time have to work fewer hours, or if they work the same number of hours, they have more dollars in their pocket, making their degree program more affordable. A big success with respect to affordability was, after a year of collaboration, we finally put pen to paper together with our community colleges in our area and signed off on the Tartan Transfer Program. Mountain Empire, Mountain Gateway, New River, Patrick and Henry, Southwest Virginia, Wytheville, Virginia Highlands, and Virginia Western are all part of this agreement. And the 8 community colleges that signed off on this agreement, they already feed a significant number of students to our university. In fact, almost a quarter of our students enrolled here have had credits at those institutions, often as an associate's degree, but sometimes even as dual enrollment that they took in high school in partnership with those community colleges. And now they're here. And now, if you think about it, going forward, those same students can commute from their homes to their community college, and if they qualify for the G3 program, which is very similar for the Radford Tuition Promise, they won't pay tuition at their community college. They transfer to Radford, they won't pay tuition at Radford. And in fact, those students, by working a part-time job, they can graduate with 2 degrees, associate's and a bachelor's degree, without debt, without loans, without money from their parents. We have created an affordable pathway for Virginians, and I think that we can be very, very proud of that accomplishment. So not only am I grateful to our community college partners, but Nicole Hendricks, Academic Affairs, Enrollment Management, were all very strategic partners in putting this together. A lot of time and effort was there, but I'll tell you, it was worth it. It was very much worth it. Secondly, we have made our university much more welcoming to all students over this past year. So during this fall semester, we continued to build on a culture where productive civil discourse, freedom of expression, and democratic ideals are recognized as an essential part of the Radford University experience. This continues on the work of the Task Force for Civil Discourse and Freedom of Expression, the working group that created a plan for us, and this year was continuing year 2 of the strategic plan that they had presented. And after a successful first year, we continued with our the Common Grounds, which is a coffee event, if you didn't catch that connection, and it's also Coffee and Conversations That Matter. And those meetings have continued this fall, which is faculty, staff, and students, and they've included discussions around, the collaboration around differences. And topics this fall included AI in university classrooms and a post-election discussion on how we move forward together. Another example, I think we all continue to learn at Board of Visitor meetings, and I still learn. You think I know everything, I'm still learning as well. And I loved Susan's presentation from Student Affairs about the family dinners that they've started as a pilot. Remember, students with very different backgrounds had a meal together talking about different perspectives, sometimes difficult topics. And I don't know about your families, but when we do that, we might not come together as a family again anytime soon. That group had those conversations through that meal, and all of them, every attendee wanted to do it again, and they all indicated they learned new perspectives from those meals. In October, we welcomed internationally recognized journalist and Duke University professor Frank Bruni to the Artist Center to speak about his 2004 book, The Age of Grievance, which takes an in-depth look at political dysfunction and culture wars in America, and ultimately in ways that communities can come together to overcome ideological divides. And I don't know what you expected to see on the front page of the Roanoke Times on Election Day, but it was an article about Radford University students. And they covered Highlander's Vote, The Road to the Ballot Box, which was a 2-day event put on by Radford University students. And the goal of that event was to allow all students to explore key aspects of the electoral process and encourage civic engagement and insightful panels. This was entirely led by our student communications master's students. Sessions included discussions on basics of the electoral process, civic engagement, listening skills, global perspectives of democracy, and an election night watch party. And I want to extend a big thank you to our master's students in strategic communication that put this together. It was a multimedia, multi-day event. They earned media recognition, great skills came with this. Again, this was not for course credit. This was something our students did to make our campus and our students feel like they could have difficult conversations with each other. Third, Radford University is meeting the needs of employers in Virginia. During this year, you heard a presentation just yesterday by Lee Svede and Jarrell and Jean Mikolajczyk, and they have launched a strategic plan for our Center of Career and Talent Development with the goal of increasing connections between our students and employers. And just this last year, Career and Talent Development made 700 new connections with our students and employers, including internship placements with places you may have heard of, including Apple, Dynanet, Peraton, Google, Amazon, Meta, Sherwin-Williams, and many, many more. The Highlander Works grant, which was awarded by Chev, has helped students accept these internships, and if the internships did not pay the wage that the students needed to work there or cover housing, that grant filled the difference for those students. Between the grants that we're receiving, the outreach that we are making through those offices, we are growing our career center to be a best-in-class career center, and it's going to help attract prospective students and families, and ultimately to continue to grow the return on the degrees that students earn here at Radford University. Now, when the 2025 General Assembly session starts in just a couple of weeks, we'll continue to advocate for the pre-planning funds for a new academic facility in Roanoke. This facility will house all of our health science programs that are currently in the community hospital of Carilion and at RHEC. Now, I want you to know, and I want others listening in to know, that all of our healthcare programs based in Roanoke have 100% employment placement within 6 months of graduation. These are programs that are sought by students, and our graduates are sought by employers, clearly showing the demand and that we're meeting the need of employers through these. This new facility will meet current academic and career needs and be built with future growth in mind to support the needs of the region. And if these funds are received, either through the governor's budget or the legislative process, this would put us on track to open a new building in 6 years to continue to grow those programs to meet the need of the region. More urgently, we're requesting an additional $2 million for fiscal year 26 to recruit and retain nursing faculty. Nursing is our most prominent area of student growth. We have no cap on the growth of our students in our nursing program. And the College of Nursing saw new undergraduate growth by 37% just this year alone. And when I looked at, I think, data from this past week, projections for this fall have it growing, it's early on, but another 45% for this coming fall. Virginia's economic success and quality of life depends on qualified nurses entering the Commonwealth's workforce to alleviate the current statewide shortage. But currently, 1 in 4 of our nursing positions is unfilled because the salaries that we offer are not as competitive as offered in hospitals and other healthcare environments. So this $2 million is essential for us filling those positions so we can continue to grow our program and meet the highest need in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And when we talk about keeping graduates here to build careers, we're talking about keeping graduates in state to build their careers, especially with nurses. Over the past 30 years, 79% of Radford's nursing graduates have stayed in state. You may have heard something about traveling nurses. Maybe ours travel within the Commonwealth, but they're Virginians. Being our largest major, Radford's nursing program is a significant contributor to nursing graduates at the state level, and we want to be on the leading edge of producing high-quality practitioners who choose to make Virginia their home. those are three things that we moved significantly over this past year, and now we're planning for success going into the future. We've reached the conclusion of the first year of our two-year strategic plan, and each board member does have an updated version of that in your folders to go through because it includes a progress report of where we are against our metrics. Year one saw the achievement of significant goals focused on enrollment and student success, which included rebranding the institution, increasing visitors to campus, direct admission, and increasing retention. And one high visibility piece of the rebrand was incomplete, and it's something you can see every day on Virginia's highways. And I'm talking about the officially licensed new plates for Radford University. Whether you're a fan of our new brand or of the athletic brand, these are going to be available next month online to purchase. Okay, we can't wait. I have Radford University license plates in my vehicle, but as soon as these are out, I'm going to be upgrading mine to these. And I would encourage others to do that too, because it's one thing for us to wear tartan proudly on our campus or in our communities, like many of our Board of Visitors here today. It's another thing to let the whole Commonwealth or the country see it as you drive your vehicles. So two additional important goals were reached out of the two-year strategic plan. The new website went live. Okay, that remains the main vehicle by which prospective students and their families become aware of an institution. And visitors to that site at radford.edu, there's been significant changes since this past summer, and it really is a goal to make that site friendlier to new visitors to the campus and providing rich content that gives them a much more meaningful understanding about what the Radford experience will be like when they arrive here. And on even a bigger scale, we completed the Together campaign. On October 5th, we celebrated the most significant fundraising event in Radford University's history when we revealed the lofty goal of $100 million being exceeded. As Vice President White shared with us yesterday, this impact elevates the student experience here in significant ways, with more than 55,000 gifts coming from more than 18,000 donors, creating 178 new scholarships, and 51% of all the money that we raised went to student scholarships to support them directly. And this campaign showed how our collective pride can have a far greater impact than any single act of generosity ever could. So thank you to those that contributed in time and funds, and my deep appreciation goes to Vice President White, who I thought was here. Okay, she's not, but her and her leadership team for leading the university with this transformational accomplishment. And now we're continuing to follow that two-year plan as we get energized and organized around a six-year plan for the institution. As we've previously mentioned, we're developing this six-year plan led by two co-chairs, Dr. Angela Joyner and Dr. Sharon Roger Hepburn, and they're going to both share details about the process of where we are in just a couple of minutes. Been in our progress to date. We've got a 33-person strategic planning committee that's appointed and charged. Includes faculty and staff from all colleges, divisions, students, recent graduates, and business and government leaders from nearby and also across the Commonwealth. There is a website to keep you up to date on progress that is being made on that strategic planning process. And last month, we began engaging stakeholders to identify key themes within the strategic plan. And individuals could participate both in person and, if they were unable to, through a remote survey with open-ended responses. And I'm really appreciative of the time that the committee is dedicating to this process. I'm appreciative of the ideas and insights that they're generating about our university and our future. And I cannot wait to see what this plan holds for the future of successes at Radford University. So once again, on reflection, we made a huge difference for our students and communities in just this past year by working together. And as we work together, that 6-year plan is going to make even a larger impact on our region and our students. So that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President. All right, next I'd like to move to the Government Relations Update with Ms. Lisa Gadati, Executive Director of Government Relations and Strategic Initiatives. Lisa?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So my report to you today will focus on government relations activities this fall, an election update, and a preview of the 2025 General Assembly session. So during my report to you in September, I provided an overview of the President's off-season regional visits, which are one of the most important initiatives that we undertake contributing to the success of the university's state priorities. So during our meetings with legislators in their districts, the President shares a university update and learns more about the issues that matter to the legislator, especially regarding workforce development and higher education. So over the summer and fall, we've met with 35 of 140 General Assembly members. And since I reported to you in September, we have been able to visit Hampton Roads. We actually have additional visits scheduled, and so I'm really pleased with our outreach activities that we've been able to do across the Commonwealth. So 2024 is an off year for state elections. The presidential election and congressional elections took center stage this year. Both Congressman Morgan Griffith, who represents our main campus, and Congressman Ben Klein, who represents our Roanoke campus, retained their seats, as did Senator Tim Kaine. So locally, 2 Radford City Council seats were on the ballot this year. One is from a current counselor who retained her seat, and then the other's an open seat, and there's a new counselor elected, and we look forward to working with them. Dr. Joyner mentioned town-gown relationships yesterday as part of her presentation, and so we look forward to continuing to partner with the city on matters of mutual interest and build on our relationships with the surrounding localities. So looking at the 2025 General Assembly, my December report to you will always include a preview of the upcoming legislative session. The 2025 session will be a short session, 6 weeks. It convenes on January 8th and is expected to adjourn on February 22nd. So 2025 will be a relatively normal year compared to what we saw in 2024, which had unprecedented turnover, leadership changes. There will be a few special elections held in January to replace 2 state senators who won congressional seats. And then 1 delegate has resigned his House seat in order to run for one of the Senate special elections. There shouldn't be leadership turnover. There should be very little changes made to committee membership. But 2025 is an election year. It's a big election year, and so all 100 seats on the House of Delegates and then statewide races are on the ballot. A number of General Assembly members have already announced their candidacy for the statewide elections. And so we will engage with statewide candidates leading up into 2025 before the election so that we can better position the university and our priorities with the incoming administration in 2026. In terms of the state budget, the governor will be presenting his package of proposed budget amendments to the Joint Money Committees at their meeting on December 18th. The governor has already announced that additional tax relief is a top priority for him. And then the House and Senate have already said that they're going to be focused on one-time funding requests after funding mandatory spending items. Senator Lucas, who chairs the Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee, she opposes the additional ongoing tax cuts, but it's open to a one-time rebate. I think that's going to maybe be conversations that play out during budget negotiations later during the session. Other potential investments that may be proposed by Governor Youngkin later this month will probably be in the areas of education, law enforcement, and behavioral health. So the House Appropriations Committee and the Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee each hold retreats each November. They receive an update from their staff on revenues, a budget outlook heading into the legislative session, and they drill down on specific budget drivers. And so some key takeaways from the Money Committee retreats that I think might help set the stage for what budget conversations will look like beginning in January is that FY24 ended with a significant revenue surplus, but most of this funding is already committed. Additional forecasted revenue growth is sufficient for must-do mandatory items. However, $2.2 billion in remaining resources are one-time only. So the Commonwealth of Virginia has a lot of one-time money that they can spend, but that's it. There's only about $300 to $400 million in projected ongoing revenue that can be appropriated. So in general, the House and Senate Money Committees have indicated that they're going to be prioritizing investments in affordable housing, public education, the House in particular, tuition moderation, flood prevention and relief, and behavioral health. There are significant budget drivers that need to be addressed, including a $632 million shortfall in Medicaid funding over the next 2 years. It's important to keep an eye on year-by-year appropriations balances to ensure that the General Assembly doesn't fund ongoing expenditures in FY26 with carry-forward revenues from FY25 to ensure that there is sustainability and structural balance to the budget. However, what I like to remind people is that we're in the middle of a 2-year biennial budget. We have an underlying budget in place for FY26, and that the General Assembly doesn't need to actually pass a budget during the 2025 session. Tax relief is going to be a really big sticking point in budget negotiations, and I think that we could potentially see a scenario where a budget compromise isn't reached, but maybe another skinny budget is passed to fund sort of time-sensitive critical items. We saw that during the 2023 session. So during Dr. Hoover's presentation yesterday and the President's report to you this morning, they provided an overview of the university's 2025 budget priorities. We thought it would be helpful to provide you with sort of a key talking points card. It's for 2 of our priorities related to health workforce development, the pre-planning request, as well as the additional operating support for nursing faculty. That card is in your folder. It's laminated. It fits in a pocket. You can put it in your portfolio. But we hope that it's easy for you to carry around and then to have conversations about those priorities. So looking at legislation, very few bills have been introduced and published in the legislative information system at this time. But I think there's going to be a few key issues emerging for higher education that we see in January. So you should be very familiar with VMSDEP, which is the Virginia Military Survivors and Dependents Education Program. That's been a conversation, hot topic at the General Assembly this spring, over the summer. And so since the special session and sort of a temporary funding measure was implemented, the Joint Legislative Audit and Review Commission, JLARC, has reviewed the program. They've come up with several recommendations to the General Assembly. In addition, the Senate had established a select work group on VMSDEP that convened a couple times. They also have recommendations, and I know that at least one of those work group members plans on introducing legislation to make changes to VMSDEP. So the changes will relate to eligibility criteria, program parameters, and then sort of the level of funding for higher education institutions. So you should be familiar with the higher education JLARC studies that happened this fall. I think that we will see legislation or budget language relating to the spending efficiency, institutional viability, JLARC recommendations. College athletics will be front and center. The General Assembly will be reviewing existing Virginia law relating to athletic subsidies and the name, image, likeness, NIL issues. The General Assembly has an Intercollegiate Athletics Review Commission, and I hear that they are trying to convene sometime between now and the beginning of session to discuss the recent NCAA settlements, NIL issues, and gambling on Virginia college sports. The House and Senate have studied campus protest activities and how you balance freedom of expression, freedom of speech with campus safety concerns. And I anticipate that we will see a few bills relating to that introduced in the 2025 session. AI continues to be discussed by both the administration and the General Assembly. And I guarantee we'll see legislation introduced regarding artificial intelligence governance that will impact state agencies and public institutions. So I thought it might be helpful to just provide a really brief federal outlook and the impact on Virginia. So beginning in January, Republicans will control Washington, D.C., and with a single-party controlled government, there's always a number of factors that may impact higher education. So we're going to have a new Secretary of Education. President-elect Trump nominated Linda McMahon, who is the co-founder of World Wrestling Entertainment, sports entertainment company, but she also is a former administrator of the Small Business Administration during Trump's first administration. And so she's been nominated to serve as the U.S. Secretary of Education. While she doesn't have an extensive background in education, she has served on the State Board of Education and as a university trustee, and she's likely to receive bipartisan support and be confirmed. So some talking points during the presidential campaign that may impact higher education kind of focus on potential expanded deportations and increased visa security, and potentially the elimination of the Department of Education. And while that is unlikely, there could be some changes in terms of offices, staff, and functions that could be undertaken. We've seen potentially a reversion of, we may see potentially a reversion of Title IX protections and a rollback of protections for transgender student athletes. And so we work closely with the American Association of State Colleges and Universities, and I work very closely with their government relations team and their government relations network on federal changes and how to best advocate for issues that matter to regional public universities like Radford. So the General Assembly is also closely monitoring the impact of the federal elections on Virginia, including proposals to increase tariffs on imported goods, cut federal spending, tax changes that may result in lost revenue, deporting immigrants, and federal employment downsizing or relocation, since approximately 193,000 federal jobs are in Virginia. So looking at campus engagement, one of my initiatives this year was expanding engagement with government officials. And I kind of alluded to this at my September report to you and said I would provide more details in December, but this was really an all-star fall for campus visits. Lieutenant Governor Earl Sears visited campus in September to learn more about Radford University, entrepreneurship, innovation, and economic development activities. And so she toured the Venture Lab, she's met with students, she met with student veterans, and then she went to the hub to learn more about our partnerships with the city and other initiatives such as Impact. But also, she returned after Hurricane Helene to learn more about the university's storm preparation efforts and how the faculty and staff have been leveraging the natural disaster for field experiments. And so I will say she engaged with our students who were conducting crawdad experiments right by the river, and I think she had a really fantastic experience doing that. We also hosted Governor Youngkin, Congressman Griffith, and our General Assembly delegation on campus during the same time. The Attorney General and the Assistant Secretary of Education held a student roundtable this fall as well, which you heard about yesterday from Provost Usher during her report to you. We also hosted a few Northern Virginia General Assembly members, including Delegate Mark Sickles, who's the Vice Chair of the House Appropriations Committee, and he toured the Artist Center, and then Delegate David Reed, who's also a member of the House Appropriations Committee, toured the Artist Center, but also learned more about teacher education and K-12 partnerships, and he spoke with students at the Political Science Days event that was held. And as part of our advocacy for pre-planning funds for the new academic building in Roanoke, we hosted Department of Planning and Budget staff, as well as we've also hosted the Deputy Secretary of Finance and Deputy Secretary of Education, so they can learn more about our programs in Roanoke and our capital request. So I'm going to put in a plug for Advocacy Day. Radford Advocacy Day plans are underway. And so that is under the leadership of Dr. Trageser, and Karen Castile, Alumni Relations, Student Affairs are all part of the planning team. We're celebrating our 25th anniversary, It's going to be held January 29th and 30th, and Karen may have already sent information about it to you, but we hope that you're able to join us for part or all of the event, and we will have a legislative reception held the evening of January 29th. So we have 2 students interning at the General Assembly in 2025. One's going to be with Delegate Sam Razul, and the other's going to be with Delegate Jason Ballard, and that's part of the university's Government Relations Internship Program, which is overseen by the President's Office. And so we're really excited about that, and I always appreciate the opportunity to have students engaging in Richmond, but also learning more about potential career paths in politics and government relations and public service, and help them establish those connections and network with people around Capitol Square. This concludes my government relations report, and I look forward to updating you in March with an overview of the 2025 General Assembly, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Lisa, thank you for your leadership. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Always educational. Thank you for bringing us up to speed. Okay, next I'd like to go through a strategic plan for 2026 through 2031, update provided by Dr. Angela Joyner and Dr. Sharon Roger Hepburn, Planning Committee co-chairs. Ladies?
Good morning. Morning. So we wanted to provide an overview of the progress that we've made to date on the strategic plan. And as the president mentioned earlier, we have a group convened, about 33 people from across our constituents. And it was really important for this process to do 2 things. One, for us to dream big. Well, actually 3 things. 1, for us to dream big. 2, for us to be transparent about the process and sharing the progress. And the other piece of it was to be inclusive. And so I think given the conversations that we've had over the last, it's 3 months. I can't even believe it's been 3 months. I think we're achieving that. And so today we'll share a little bit about what we're seeing and hearing, and then giving you some perspective of what you'll see as we touch base again with you in March. And so to remind folks that we partnered with Siegel Consulting to help facilitate the process. And though I will say, Siegel's helping to facilitate the process, which is great, we're doing a lot of the heavy lifting and a lot of the work in terms of the thought leadership and the challenges and challenging each other. The time that we spend together every other week, each subcommittee group spends about 3 hours going through and talking through and discussing data and challenging ideas and really pushing the thinking. And so this funnel represents some of the work that we're currently doing. We started at the top talking about vision, mission, and core values. We've touched on that and we'll come back to it. So we have draft statements for each of the areas in which I'll share. And the intent is really to go from that higher level goals all the way down to imperatives. What will it take for us to be able to achieve our goals as an institution over the next 6 years? What are the strategies that will allow us to do that, in very specific, actionable strategies? The tactics and the actions that follow it. And then most importantly, as we get down to that other level, as we're refining the strategies, is also thinking about what are the things we wanted to be able to do is not just take the information from the 4 groups, but ensure from an inclusiveness standpoint to include the campus on open forums and sessions to provide input to the process. Then to you.
Thanks. So as the president and Angela have sort of said a couple of times now, one of the guiding principles for the Strategic Planning Committee is to be transparent and inclusive. And to the end, we do have the dedicated website where people can go and access various documents and get updates as they become available. And we also intend on having a number of touch points with various stakeholders in different ways with different groups. We actually started this process in the summer when we had an extensive meeting with members of the board, and we continued that this semester. On November 7th, we had a comprehensive planning session / exercise. And what we did in order to try to be as inclusive as possible is we had 3 sessions during the day up in Roanoke. We had 3 sessions here at Radford, and then we had a late afternoon session at the hub to try to catch as many people as we could. We then released a survey that went over the same questions as the in-person sessions to reach out to people who were unable to attend the in-person sessions. And both the in-person sessions and the survey was available to all students, staff, faculty, administrators, community members, and alumni. So we really cast the net as wide as we could. What we did for those sessions is we had each of the 4 sub-teams develop questions that they thought would best inform them and give them the best feedback and information about their individual group's work. And as you can see with these questions, the intent was to be very broad-based, to be very open. We didn't want to pigeonhole anybody or restrict people, and we really sort of developed these very broad-based questions to cast a very wide net at this point. And overall, we were really pleased with the turnout, both in person and in the surveys. I think the takeaway, I think, is that the university community and our stakeholders are very interested in this process. They want to participate, and they are indeed invested into the ultimate products, the next university's strategic plan. So where we are at this point in all of the information from that is Siegel is working on a final report. They needed to wait until all the survey responses came in, so that final report is not ready yet. In the meantime, Angela, myself, and our Siegel consultants have read all of the comments, and there were an awful lot of them. We did not restrict people. We literally gave them stacks of stickies and said, here you go, answer those questions. So there was an awful lot. It was great. That's what we wanted. And so Angela and I and the Siegel consultants have read all of them. The individual teams have read the ones that correspond with their group questions. But we've read all of group questions. But we've read all of them.
Yeah, there were about 1,000 when you think about the responses from all of that. And so we are still synthesizing all of that information.
Yeah, there was quite a bit. And then the survey responses, I know Angela's read them, I've read them, the Siegel consultants have read them. The full committee doesn't have those yet because they were not available. They'll be receiving them soon. And then what we'll do with all of that information is we'll synthesize it, we'll distill it, and we will use it to craft and refine the goals, the strategies, the imperatives for the individual groups, and then moving forward, and just going to tell you what we're doing next.
Yeah, so, we alluded on the 1,000, so we wanted to be able to come back with you all this morning to share kind of what we were hearing and seeing. But with over 1,000 responses, we want to make sure we're judicious in pulling out those themes that we're seeing, because some of them relate to the committees and can relate to some of the opportunities, and there's others that are opportunities that, again, because it's such an inclusive process, that we didn't see. And so trying to figure out like how we pull that together. But those responses will inform the strategies, the draft strategies that we currently have in the goals. It'll help us refine those so that we can come back with the goals, the values, the strategies, as well as some of the initial tactics. That will happen in January when we'll go through that work. In February, we will do another probably open forum or session or focus groups with the campus and a broader group of alumni and campus as we're defining those goals, sharing that with each of the other stakeholders at the university, and then really digging into, so what are the actions, what are the resources needed, how do we prioritize those, and then narrow those down a bit so that they can become actionable, overarching goals for the university over the next 6 years. So we'll come back to you in March after we've done that. So we'll have another touch point with campus in February. At that point in time, we should be able to come back to you with refined strategies and goals, draft vision and mission. And then we will pause to a certain extent because half of our committee will be leaving in April. So our goal is to have a draft plan by April that we can start writing and refining, bring to you over the summer at your retreat, and then come back with a plan for you to start reviewing and voting in December for implementation in January. We'll entertain any questions if there are any from the group.
Yes, George?
Maybe a question for the president. I know we're doing a strategic plan for athletics. Independent of this, how are we going to integrate the two in a final strategy?
For athletics, there's a couple of pieces that run, I'm going to say they're specific to athletics, right? They're within athletics, how to leverage dollars for success for facilities. So outside of that, as athletics is putting that together, what we have is student athletes here. So when we talk about student success, that encompasses our athlete experience. So you can think about this as the strategic plan for athletics is really setting them up for a lot of what they need to do internally, and the 6-year strategic plan is how overall they feed into the university's efforts as a whole. So they need to do this right now for athletics, simply because, like many of our divisions, we've done a lot of reorganization, restructuring, rethinking, and that gets them running with what they need to be doing internally, if that helps. Okay.
If I may, President, the other piece of it, as we're thinking about the strategic plan, we know that this is bottoms up and then there's top down. All of the other strategic plans should ladder back up. For athletics specifically, a lot of these strategies run all the way across. So like student athletes will hit academic, it'll hit student success, it'll hit the community in terms of how we're engaging the community in athletics. And so it'll be our responsibility to try to figure out how to make those linkages, and so that each of our constituents sees the overall plan and then can figure out how that lines up. But I think it'll line up nicely, both this plan, the enrollment plan, the financial plan, all of those pieces will start coming together. Any other questions? Thank you for the time.
No, thank you both. Really appreciate it. And we did get the message that you read all the messages. Yeah, all the messages, right? Yeah, in the words of my grandparents, better you than me. How about that? Very good. All right, well, thank you for that. So as we transition into the committee updates, I wanted to bring up a couple of things. We will take a bio break after the second committee update, and then we'll break there for a few minutes, okay? One of the things I wanted to mention leading into our committee updates, I wanted to first of all thank the committee chairs for raising the bar with regards to the performance of the committee. Year after year, we typically get stronger and we get better, but I would say we made a Herculean jump in this past year in terms of the work being done by the committee chairs. And on the surface, it makes it look like things are going a little bit smoother and a little easy, but I would tell you, it's kind of like a duck in the water, right? You don't know what's happening underneath the water, right? So there's a tremendous amount of work being done by our committee chairs, and I appreciate all of your efforts and the conversations being done there. I would also like to thank the committee members for their efforts in terms of asking the tough questions and making sure that we cover all the things that will keep this university strong and viable moving forward. So tremendous amount of work being done there, greatly appreciate it, great results, and ultimately I also appreciate the work being done by the vice presidents and the staff, because once again, you know, none of us could do this on our own, right? It kind of rolls up and rolls down, but together we're winning, so I appreciate that. Next, I'd like to move into Academic Excellence and Student Success Committee. by Miss Jeannie Armentrout. Jeannie?
Thank you. Good morning. We started our committee
Is your
yesterday.
button hit by chance?
Is it not? It's green, but maybe I'm not close enough. We started our committee yesterday with a very exciting presentation. This was Dr. Jarrell Benton and Mr. Lee Savette, and they're really focused on bringing together student success and career and talent development. This is a really strong partnership and collaboration that they have ensued upon creating strong goals for student success and ensuring that students get early on preparation for their future career path, not just things like internships, but beyond that, like resume building, skill building, et cetera, and engaging employers early on as well. We then had an update from Dr. Usher on academic affairs. We always do points of pride, which is really about the accomplishments of faculty and students. There are many faculty and students who are publishing in journals and presenting at conferences both nationally and internationally. We also had an update on the two-year plan achievements, which included student retention, dean searches that are open and active, and planning for Roanoke as far as the building or physical space and the academic focus for that location. Dr. Matt Close gave us an update on Faculty Senate activities, which include engagement surveys for faculty, a continued focus on the real curriculum improvements, and handbook revisions. We had one faculty that was approved for emeritus status, Dr. Richard Straw. And finally, we are bringing one action item in the form of a resolution to the full board. And this is a change to the Teaching and Research Faculty Handbook, and it's on page 13 if you need to refresh. But this really includes or broadens the search committees for dean selection to include more broadly across the university, students and alumni and partners. And so we are asking that this resolution come forward to the board for approval.
Okay, I think we take a motion here, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
We need a motion and a second, please.
A second? All in favor? Anyone opposed? There you go.
And
Thank you.
that concludes our report.
Thank you. Thank you for your efforts and your committee's efforts there. Okay, next I'd like to transition to Business Affairs and Audit Committee, led by Dr. Betty Jo Foster, Mr. Chair.
We had a great committee meeting yesterday morning. All of the members of this committee worked really hard, as they do, I'm sure, on all committees. But as you can imagine, in finance and auditing, there's a lot to read. And I appreciate them doing that and getting back with me with comments and questions that we can then bring to the full board later. So I appreciate the work that this committee does on a daily basis. We have several reports and two action items. From the University Auditor's Report, Ms. Margaret McManus, who's our University Auditor, presented several reports, which included an oral report on the quarterly review of the University Discretionary Fund. She gave us two internal audit reports, the fiscal year 2024 inventory audit and the college transition audit of the School of Nursing, now College of Nursing. Ms. McManus also provided an overview of the audit process so that we could understand how that process works here at the college. And at that point, I'd like to thank her for the great work that she does. It gives us a great deal of comfort to know that that's what she does, thinks about at night and gets up thinking about it, and so we're very appreciative of that. She also presented the Radford audit report from the Office of the State Inspector General's cybersecurity audit for Virginia higher ed institutions. She gave us a quarterly follow-up audit status report that we get at each meeting.
and also the Institute of Internal Auditors Global Internet Audit Standards Required Communication of Essential Conditions. We have one action from that area, and that is we are recommending the approval of the revised internal audit charter policy, which we discussed yesterday. So we need a motion on that, please.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay. In the business affairs area, Dr. Rob Hoover, Vice President for Finance and Administration, presented several reports. He discussed with us, helped us to understand the funding sources, those buckets of money, and what each bucket represents and how expenditures come from those areas. We discussed the internal budget process, so we understand from beginning to end what happens, how the people are included and involved throughout that process. We also discussed the fiscal year 26 priorities, the saving strategies that we hope we can implement, and the multi-year plan. Then he introduced Dr. Eric Plummer, who's Chief of Police here for Radford University, who discussed with us the University Crisis and Emergency Management Plan. That has to be voted on by the board every 4 years, and this is the year. So our committee is recommending the adoption of the updated University's Crisis and Emergency Management Plan.
Okay, do we have a motion? So moved. A second? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
That plan is very lengthy, but if you want to look at that, it's in the Business Affairs and Audit Committee materials beginning on page 96. So we all looked at that yesterday. And again, thank you to the committee for the great work you do. You make my job easy. And that concludes my report.
Yeah, very impactful, so thank you for your leadership also. Okay, so on that note, let's take a break. It's currently 10 after the hour, and we'll come back at 20 after the hour and begin our next committee update. All right, thank you, everyone. Coffee seems to taste better the last 2 minutes before we come out of break. All right, so thank you for the first two committee chairs in terms of providing their updates. Greatly appreciate it. The next, I'd like to go through Enrollment Management and Brand Equity Committee, led by Mrs. Jennifer Wilson Gilbert. If you would, please. Thank you.
Rector Smith, you know, it seems like the meetings of the Enrollment Management and Brand Equity Committee don't disappoint, and this December meeting was no exception. If you haven't already, I encourage anyone listening to this to pull out your phone and find your way to radford.edu. It has been completely reworked, and I do mean completely. The beautiful new landing page is user-friendly, useful, and engaging, chocked full of personal, real-life stories that we all love to hear, and decked out with the university's new logo. This page efficiently greets students with the things they need to know, what they can study at Radford, and how they can pay for it. Make no mistake, sifting through the hundreds of pages connected with the old website and redesigning this important piece of real estate was the heaviest of lifts, all done in-house, which, let's face it, makes it all the more special. So a big congratulations to every hand that worked on this project. It truly raises the profile of the university. Next month, Dr. Danette Gomez-Bean and her team will begin a brand perception study to look at how the university's new brand is being received and recognized, with results coming this spring. The bulk of our meeting was spent discussing Radford's communication plan as presented by Dr. Gomez-Bean and Dr. David Perryman. Creation and implementation of this plan, as you know, is a top priority of the board. The plan identifies 5 goals to focus on that include communications to advance the university's mission by supporting executive-level communications, events and activities, increasing enrollment, which is always top of mind, positively influencing the university's reputation, enhancing brand equity, and increasing employee and student awareness and engagement, which is also very important. We discussed the importance of tying every goal to a specific part of the 2-year strategic plan in an effort to stay laser focused on success. And now, Rector Smith, come the enrollment numbers that are music to our Highlander ears. With the final census gathered, we can now say concretely that enrollment exceeded expectations of stabilization by more than 200 students, and the momentum continues. Dr. Gomez-Bean reports spring deposits are up by 26% for freshmen and 50% for transfer students. Open house attendance increased by 10%, which, as we heard from Roxanne this morning, when you draw students to campus at Radford, they can't wait to come back as students. The board reviewed the current status of the popular Radford Tuition Promise, which allows qualifying students to attend Radford University free of charge, a program that is literally changing the lives of students like Hannah and Roxanne, who we heard from this morning. Dr. Hoover says that the plan remains solvent and will once again be a resource in the coming year. And the plan will come before the board each year for review. To end our meeting, Dr. Gomez-Bean showed us a video of a recent trip the Highlander, President Danilowicz, and others took to Christiansburg High School to celebrate the impressive number of seniors there who've made a commitment to find their way to Radford. It was a beautifully special moment for everyone involved, including us watching with tears in our eyes. I want to congratulate Dr. Gomez-Bean for her creativity and spontaneity, and everyone else for taking time out of your schedule to make this happen. These are the precise moments that set Radford apart from the pack and are changing lives for the better. Rector Smith, we have compounding evidence that the more people who visit Radford's beautiful campus, engage with students and alumni, and learn about all the opportunities awaiting them both on campus and along the New River, more and more people are finding their place here, which just delights us all. And that concludes my report.
Wow. So thank you and your committee members, as well as Dr. Gomez-Bean, for there's one thing to have a plan, it's something else to execute, right? And what our leaders have shown us time after time is that we have great plans, and most importantly, we know how to execute, right, and pivot when we need to pivot. So thank you for your update. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, next I'd like to transition to External Engagement Committee, led by Ms. Lisa Papa. Lisa?
Good morning. Our committee started with a presentation from Dr. Angela Joyner on the corporate development and corporate education, economic development and corporate education piece. She reviewed our goals, the first being to grow non-traditional enrollment and associated revenue. And this is exciting because this is Radford University thinking out of the box and taking advantage of some opportunities and facing some of the challenges of higher education. She reviewed the Impact Lab enrollment, which is a little soft, and that's okay. We have a plan, and we have a lot to learn. She's doing some great work behind the scenes to sort of reevaluate our curriculum, what we have to offer, and how it is priced. Along with that, she's had some shifts in delivery, mixing, and timing. So she's pivoting and we're adjusting, and she's had some changes in leadership as well. So we're excited for her to provide an update in January on some of that background research work that she is doing. And we're really excited about the shift to address the shortage of teachers in the area with the provisional to professional pathway, which has been a tremendous success. They have anticipated or hoped for 10 new learners. They are at 31. So that is extremely exciting for the corporate education piece. From there, she shifted to covering economic development. And Dr. Joyner shared an offer has been extended and accepted to the next Director of Economic Development and Community Engagement, be starting later next month, and I anticipate we will have the opportunity to meet with that individual in March. The Regional Testing Center is on track, and it will launch this month. Taylor Austin has joined the team as the program coordinator, and he will be leading the testing center. The team also commenced work on the IT cybersecurity and talent connector program by convening an industry and pipeline partner advisory board and initial outreach to Virginia Tech and the New River Community College. And the extensive work to build partnerships continues to have impact. They are resulting in work-based additional testing opportunities and learning opportunities for our students, speaking engagements for our president, and our faculty in new collaborative projects in the region. And Dr. Joyner highlighted a number of these new partnerships that we continue to be excited about. Very exciting is the partnership with the City of Radford. It continues to positively evolve, and it has resulted in a Joint Commission Center charter promising progress on the amphitheater project and several other projects in development. Many thanks to the work groups, the commission members, and others who are deeply committed to seeing the city flourish. We'd be very excited to hear in March about whether this is moving forward, and I am very excited about what this will do, not only about the collaboration between the city and the partnerships with businesses in Radford, but what it will do for school spirit in the surrounding area. It won't just be on the Radford campus that you feel the love of a Highlander, but you will feel it when you walk down Main Street and into every store. From there, we shifted to Vice President Penny White, who gave us an update on advancement and alumni relations. And Dr. Danilowitz did a great job talking about the Together campaign, but it doesn't hurt to say it one last time. We exceeded a goal of 100 million with 106, almost 107 million. Nearly 56,000 total gifts were made with 1,000, almost 1,100 unique gifts. What stood out really very much is that we had 178 new scholarships. 38% of the gifts were less than $50. That is something I hope we really leverage as we seek to re-engage our donors and let them know how much they have made an impact. And the other statistic that really stood out to me was that 27% of our faculty and staff participated, which exceeds the national rate when it comes to a capital campaign. So again, just tremendous congratulations. So with that, we have to shift to our next priorities. And Penny reviewed meetings with the university leadership. There's going to be, I'm sure, a lot of discussion around donor fatigue and how to overcome that. Funding priorities determined by the strategic plan that was reviewed earlier. the building pipeline, and also evaluating that capital campaign with GG&C. They, as consultants, were really very helpful to advancement in understanding how we need to move forward. And as a result, Penny White is going to be sunsetting a number of programs that haven't worked or no longer work. And she is shifting her priorities. She is listening to the advice she has been given. She has brought in her teams. And I think it would be very, very exciting to see how we are going to address advancement in the future. Planned gifts. Improve donor engagement and with planned giving. We received 4 planned gifts for a total of almost $27 million, exceeding our 25 goal of 30% in planned giving. So tremendous success. Highlander Giving Day, which was just this past week. I love that she incorporated the 1910 Society with 1 day, 9 hours, 10 minutes from Tuesday, December 3rd through Wednesday, December 4th. So 17 projects, and we will see what the results of that coming. Homecoming. If you have not made homecoming, I know sometimes it's hard. We're here in September, and then we have to come back. It is amazing. The work that Laura Turk has done to build this weekend is phenomenal. I've probably been coming consistently for maybe 12, 13 years, and it has evolved into the most impressive event. You will feel a sense of spirit for Radford University, pride, just warm feelings about your memories, an opportunity to find out where folks are now. It is just an amazing weekend, and I just really, really would encourage all board members, if you can fit that into your schedule, you will come away feeling as Betsy did when she spoke to all the students. So again, I do want to congratulate Laura. She's done an amazing job with not just alumni in general, but that particular weekend is a tremendous success. And last but not least, some of the output from the GG&C was around the magazine. So we now are on a schedule. The fall magazine was mailed in November, and it's the 2nd of the calendar year. And in closing, how impressive was Maddie Canterbury? As I said, we need a networking class. I think she could run it without even planning for it. But just a reminder, Maddie is a first-generation college student who's in the Honors College. She's an historian at Kappa Delta Phi, vice president of RU Ambassadors, Schoolhouse Living Learning community member, Radford University tour guide, student worker in the alumni office, and is the recipient of a 2 donor funder scholarship. She has clearly found her place at Radford, and she has leveraged every opportunity. And I want to thank all the faculty, the staff, students that have been there. She's had the confidence to ask, and we have fulfilled her ask and then connected her to the next individual who can help her move further. She is a vision of what we would want for all of our students. And that concludes my report.
Very nice. Thank you for that. So when we have the opportunity, I think we should recognize people in the room for their exceptional work. So Laura Turk, if you don't mind standing up. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, she likes to stay in the backdrop and just get things done and execute. So every now and then we need to recognize people for their hard work, because it's paying dividends, and it has for years. So this is not her opportunity to make it happen once. She's done it for many years. So thank you for your commitment to this university. Greatly appreciated. All right. On that note, I'd like to transition to student affairs and athletics, led by Mr. David Smith. David?
Thank you, Rector. Good morning, Board. And first of all, I'd like to thank my committee members for their continued support and help in this space. This work can't get done without all of us, and we certainly are going to lean on each other as we navigate through these white waters that are involved, specifically as it relates to athletics. But there's nothing that we won't be able to face together and resolve, and so we look forward to that. So as we started yesterday's Student Affairs and Athletic Committee meeting, we started with the Student Government Association report shared by Ms. Jada Freeman, our SGA president. And the SGA has been deliberate in returning to its foundational principles with a focus on increasing membership, particularly among freshmen. They have also actively represented student voices in helping navigate university changes affecting the student body, such as modifications to the academic calendar. Additionally, the SGA continues to collaborate with the athletics department to engage students in sporting events and foster Highlander pride, and that certainly was music to our athletic director's ears, the fact that they're involving themselves in making it more difficult to not go to games by actually taking them there. So that's a win for all of us at Radford. With that cold wind yesterday, we certainly appreciate a nice ride. So we appreciate that. And additionally, the Senate has introduced legislation for a food insecurity resolution to support the Highlander Pantry. The SGA is also examining legislation related to the syllabi. Think About Thursday surveyed over 50 students and used the results to collaborate with the Counseling Center in creating flyers on personal safety, which highlighted the Radford Safe app. And I think that's so important that they are taking leadership in that role. I think she said it's over 400 flyers are going to be posted within the next several days, weeks, or whatever. Certainly a great initiative. We can all be safer in this space, and it's certainly great for these students to be able to have that. Moving over to Student Affairs, Dr. Susan Tragerson, Vice President for Student Affairs, reported on the progress of 2 goals outlined in the university's 2-year plan. The first was student engagement. Research shows, and we know, the earlier a student gets engaged, makes friends, and/or finds their people, the greater likelihood of retaining the student. Student Affairs strives to have 100% of new entering first-time in-college and transfer students engaged with at least 4 outside the classroom touch points. This semester, 84% of new entering first-time and college students were engaged at the end of the 4th week, up from 77% in the fall of 2023 and 78% in the fall of 2022. 81% of new transfer students were engaged at the end of the 4th week, compared to 73% at fall of 2023 and 65% from fall of 2022. Those are great strides. Expansion of outdoor programs is a second goal. Dr. Tragerson discussed. In the first 3 months of the semester, this year's target of 46 programs with 519 participants was exceeded with 48 programs with 811 participants. Outstanding work, outstanding work. The Tartan 5K in Roanoke, which I think several of our board members participated in, and I think they're recruiting others, not so subtly, I might add, is a new outdoor program. And we were able to yesterday hear from Sabrina Music, a graduate student in the Master of Occupational Therapy, student veteran, and a graduate assistant in Student Affairs, had a significant leadership role in planning the race, and she absolutely shared her experience and learning with the committee yesterday. And I'm just here to tell you, if you ever take her off of that 5K committee thing, you're missing the mark. She absolutely is a recruiter and not even trying, and we certainly appreciate her energy for championing that yesterday, and you can see why it's a success then and will be a continued success if she's involved with that. In October, Student Affairs also piloted a family dinner to create an opportunity for students to come together, talk to each other, and hear and consider differences. In partnership with Dining Services, who provided 3 family-style meals, I'm told they were really good too, members of Dr. Tragerson's team created a dialogue model around the theme of home to accompany the meal. As we transition to intercollegiate athletics, Radford Athletics Department was named the winner of the Big South Conference's inaugural Champions of Unity Award. The Highlanders were recognized for their outstanding contributions to enhancing diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, belonging, and justice within the athletics department, campus, and surrounding community. Savannah Hammond, a 2016 graduate, returns to the Highlanders as a new head volleyball coach. Savannah was a star student athlete for the volleyball program from 2012 to 2016. She comes back to Radford after serving as head coach for Bluefield State the past 4 years. Athletics also discussed updates to the House versus the NCAA lawsuit settlement that has been targeted at $2.8 billion. This settlement will cause a reduction of about $280,000 to $300,000 each year for the next 10 years, and this reduction will start next year. Athletics also discussed options to a decision that will need to be made regarding revenue sharing in the new NCAA model. Schools will have the option to opt in or opt out on whether they want to participate in the revenue sharing model. Opting in, schools will have to follow a roster cap for all sports. Schools will be able to share revenue with their student athletes if they choose. This will make NIL deals much cleaner for the athletics department. Opt-out schools will not have to follow the new roster caps and continue with the same roster sizes as they currently have. School will not be able to share revenue, and all NIL deals will have to work through a third-party vendor, which is a costly service to the athletics department. And that's just the surface of this. More to come, and we will definitely be aligned in this space, and we'll definitely keep you all abreast of the ever-changing landscape that is college athletics. The athletic department is finalizing their next 5-year strategic plan with the help of College Sports Associates. The new plan will be presented to the board during the March meeting. With all the changes going on, we felt it was appropriate to just hold off on that until we have more information. And that's kind of where we are with that. New priority areas of the plan will include the student-athlete experience, competitive excellence, resource development, and community engagement. In the area of competitive excellence, women's soccer finished 3rd overall this fall, women's cross country 3rd overall, as well as our volleyball program. Men's cross country finished 4th overall. Men's basketball is currently 7-2 with last night's win. They actually are 8-2 and having the best start to a season in over 30 years. Non-conference wins over William & Mary, ODU, Evansville, and Sunshine Slam Championship in Daytona Beach, Florida. Anytime you can win a championship, you don't give it back. And so congratulations to the Highlanders. They will be home on Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock, where they host Bucknell, a Patriot League opponent. Dedman Center's had new improvements made and are finished and include new video boards and scoreboards, new arena sound system, new LED color changing lights, and a new volleyball practice surface, and a new portable basketball court. And I can tell you, our student athletes are so proud and pleased to have these upgrades. Makes the in-game experience so much more appropriate, which is so significant in today's landscape of college athletics. Adding to that theme, Radford Athletics has announced new improvements to the softball stadium, including a new turf field and video board. Privately funded project thanks to the generosity of Pat and Nancy Artis, projected scheduled to be completed August of 2025. Update on all external revenue streams includes sponsorship revenue of $383,250. Athletics is currently replacing the associate AD for revenue generation to fill the gap we are missing in this area. Currently in the FY25 fund drive, Radford Athletics has raised a total of $810,000+ through 214 donors. Radford Athletics has expanded its men's basketball radio footprint to now include Roanoke, Lynchburg, Bedford, and Danville, and beyond. And finally, as I conclude, important dates and initiatives, the RAD 48 event will be February 4th through 6th. Basketball Winter Celebration Weekend is February 22nd. And Lisa, as you mentioned, homecoming is such a signature event in the fall. I would ask you all to mark the date of April 25th for our Radford Athletics Red and White Gala. That is, again, April 25th. It is an outstanding event. If I'm not mistaken, I think last year we had over 400 people at the event. I think it was the largest turnout ever. I think Marty Smith came last year, and so looking forward to see who comes. And for those of us on the board that are alums, or even if you're not, quite a few of us are, it's one of those events that once you come, you'll find yourself wanting to come every year, and it supports a good cause. And so, Rector, I have found my place here at the end of my report. I hand it back to you.
And we thank you for that in more ways than one. I mean, thank you, David, for your leadership. Greatly appreciate it. All right. Yada, yada. Yeah, all serious, David. Thank you for your leadership. Okay, now moving on to the report on Radford University Foundation, led by Ms. Joanne Craig.
Thank you, Rector. I want to begin by saying I started the liaison position with the first meeting in September with the board. And I believe you all have this information in your packet. Sorry, just make sure you have it in front of you. And so if you want to look at the pie chart, that's the foundation asset compositions. In September, of course, the majority of the assets are held with the Bank of New York Mellon, which comprises 72% of our assets. So it's pretty self-explanatory on the chart. I also want to say, for after my first meeting and during that, that I've received a lot of support so far from Rector Smith, and I appreciate that, and that John Cox is a great leader of the foundation, and great support staff with Laura, and Derek provides very accurate information, accounting information. So it's been a pleasant start so far to my position there. The foundation board meets again next Thursday in Stanton. We'll be there, and I'll have report from this meeting to the foundation as liaison. Just a few items I want to let you know. For insurance purposes, we had discussed last time in our meeting, the art collection has been appraised, and the project is complete except for a few pieces. One of the major part of the foundation today is the hotel operations, which we're happy to say have improved for October and November of this year. There's still room for additional growth, and we're looking forward to that. We'll say that not in partnership, but a lot of work was done to reach throughout the New River Valley for events such as football events, and that's having a positive effect on the hotel occupancy. The Bee and Butter, if you have not been there, you need to try to at least eat there once. It's really good. It's now open for dinner 7 nights a week, and I didn't get paid for that advertisement. But it's open 7 nights a week, and one of the problem areas had been Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi capacity has been improved, and additional IT improvements will be forthcoming. So there's a lot of positive going on with the hotel, and we look for that to continue improving as we capitalize upon especially all of the things that are happening in the New River Valley. The Foundation's Audit Committee, of which I'm also a member, met on December 3rd with Brown Edwards for our report. The audit will be final once the board meets and approves it on the 12th. Investment returns for fiscal year 2024 are up to 12%, and that was great. We want to see that continue. And so the foundation had a good year. Copies of the audit will be available once it's final to everyone. And I appreciate also, I just want to say again, John being here today, because if any detailed questions, we will defer to John. The foundation has selected the firm of Robert Half to assist in the search for a new CEO, and the foundation's executive committee is working closely with them on that search. So that is going to have a big impact on the foundation and transition, and we appreciate John giving us plenty of time to look for that and having such a strong staff for whoever the new CEO is. And that concludes my report for the foundation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for the updates, and thank you for your leadership. So I don't want to discuss the replacement of the CEO, so we'll keep moving there. Mr. Cox. Yeah, just letting you know. Tremendous pivot with regards to the hotel operations, everything from the restaurant to the general operations. You can see it as you walk through the halls and visit the restaurant. Significant changes. So, John, thank you for your leadership in terms of getting it done in short order. So, greatly appreciate it. Okay, and so next I'd like to pivot on to the report from our Board of Visitors from Student Representative, Mr. Anaje Edmond.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving last week. I know we're all looking forward to the end of the semester and the rest of the holidays. So first, I just want to talk about campus life in general. As we all have heard, before, student engagement has been up 84%. We're seeing multiple clubs and organizations grow their membership, and overall, the campus morale has been the highest I've seen since being at this university. And I have some stats to back that up. Our clubs and organizations continue to rise with 15 new clubs since September. We are seeing an increase in the number of groups using the RU and Evolve to track attendance. Space usage has been up since last fall. We've had 1 new fraternity join FSL and 3 expansion requests. RU Outdoors trips fill up within a week with posting, so they're really getting outside. And the family dinner program has been amazing. I was actually a part of the pilot of that with MPHC, and it was really great. We don't disconnect a lot, especially in my generation. So being able to, put our phones down and actually have real world conversations was really great. So now, if you see here, I have a ton of photos. So if you look at the top one right there, that was a chance to meet with our Attorney General, which was really great. We had the student discussion. We got to discuss just maybe some of the issues that some of my peers felt were going on within the university, which one of those I will speak on just a little bit later. Right below that is a picture of me and our fearless president. At the grand opening of the Artist Center, which was an amazing experience, having the opportunity to speak in front of the university. At the bottom here was me at the Together campaign celebration, which was great to see how many people really believe in our institution and what we're building, what we have going on. Makes me, once I graduate, once I get some money, I'll make sure I also donate.
Donations of all denominations matter.
And in the middle was me at homecoming with my entire chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi. And that was also our 10-year celebration of being here serving this university. So it was really great to connect with all of my alumni brothers. And I think because of that, seeing us all together, we recently welcomed 2 new members into our organization. And we're continuing to grow. So it was really amazing. And the reason I share these events and these highlights is because I think that's truly when we thrive, when the Board of Visitors, our faculty, our staff, and our alumni come together. That's really where we're finding our place here. That's really when we get to make our stride and show why Radford University is so great. Now, I also got to go to JMU. I got invited to a student representative conference around the Commonwealth with the other universities. So in attendance, we had Christopher Newport University, University of Virginia, University of Mary Washington, and also, of course, James Madison University. And we got together, we discussed a bunch of different topics of just around like our universities, and it was a really cool chance to just to connect with my peers and people who are going through a similar experience with me. And a really cool thing about this was they invited us on the sideline to their football game, and here I have a video, hopefully it'll play, seeing their score to first touchdown. But yeah, and we got to meet with some of their Board of Visitors, and we just really learned the role that we play within our respective institutions. Had a great time. Sorry, my papers are like stuck together. All right, so I talked to 2 of my peers, one in nursing, one in education. Actually, my friend Maddie, it was one of them. And they voiced their concerns about some of the affordability traveling back and forth to Roanoke. They felt like they were notified, too late, and they felt too late of their site locations to really plan around that. And it's hard traveling back and forth to Roanoke, and you're picking between, groceries or gas, right? And I did have a meeting with Ms. Armatrout, and we kind of discussed a little bit of things, maybe like gas cards or something, just throwing ideas out there. But yesterday I was informed of a few things that there are emergency funds for students who might be struggling, or there are grants for students that I'm not sure if they're all aware of. It's very interesting. We had a meeting, and then everybody found out I was a student rep to the Board of Visitors, and they're like, "Oh my God, Onaje, these are all our issues. We're gonna throw them all on you, and you need to fix them." And I'm like, "Okay, let's slow our roll." But it was really cool, really cool. But yeah, and lastly, like the students, they voiced their concerns to me, and I just thought it was my duty just to bring that here. Now, to wrap up a little bit, I will be starting a conference on March 1st called Illuminate the Black Student Empowerment Conference, okay? So we talked about earlier, there's 84% of students are involved on campus, but I wanted to focus on that 16%, right? And what I learned is, with the help of Dr. Susan Tregesser, is that of that 16%, 25% are students of color who are not involved. So I wondered, why are they not involved? Do they not feel that they have that community here? Do they not see themselves as being successful here? Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of black professors, and I felt that maybe students don't feel maybe connected to their educators. The reason I want to do this conference is to inspire those students, and I'll be inviting 6 different speakers from various career paths to give students some knowledge. I want to focus on 4 main topics of this conference: mental health, financial literacy, networking, and adaptability. Now, this conference is open to anyone. I encourage all students to come, but understand that this is based within the Black experience. Now, luckily, we have 2 speakers so far who already said that they are willing to do it and come through, and one being my mother, who just recently finished her PhD in communication and is a professor at Hampton University, and the other one, the man, the myth, the legend, Rector Smith, being our keynote.
I am the man, but but I'm not the myth and I'm not the legend. The end.
Yes, and with the help of Ms. Turk, we're also reaching out to some of our alumni who have been successful from this institution to come back and have them speak and present on some of these other topics. To conclude, this conference is where I would like to leave my legacy. I hope that after I graduate, that this becomes an annual occurrence and it continues to grow. And one day, I could be the keynote of my own conference. So now, with that being said, I conclude and I open to discussion.
Yes, please.
I was curious about your interaction with the other representatives at the other universities when you were at JMU. I'm sure you were sitting around discussing what you're hearing from other students. Could you share a little bit more about what they expressed during the conversation, and does it align with what you're hearing here? Just a little more information on that.
Yeah, I believe that, well, one of the things that we kind of talked about was that I think all of our institutions are coming out of this transition of COVID, so we're all kind of hitting that peak where students just around, I would say, just education in general are starting to get more involved, starting to feel more comfortable going outside and supporting their institutions. So that was a real, just a really cool thing to see, like, okay, so we're all growing, we're all getting better, and education is starting to thrive again.
Any other questions? No, so thank you for your leadership. Greatly appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now I'd like to move into closed session. So
I move that the Board of Visitors of Radford University convene in closed session pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A, Items 1 and 8, under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act for the discussion of personnel matters, more specifically related to the President's employment agreement and performance plan, and for consultation with legal counsel.
okay, I guess I need a motion. Yes?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, we're in closed session. Thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, sir. Greatly appreciate it. If you would, please.
I move the following resolution, whereas the Board of Visitors of Radford University has convened a closed session on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas section of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law, now therefore be it resolved that the board certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under this chapter were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which this closed session was convened were heard, discussed, or considered by the board.
Can I have a motion to come out of closed session? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. If you would, please.
Mr. Rector, I would move the following resolution. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Visitors hereby acknowledges the salary equity review as defined in Section D of the employment agreement with President Brett Danilowicz dated December 7th, 2021 was conducted and as a result approves the adjustment as discussed in closed session.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, I think we're good there. So, oh, I'm sorry. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so moved. All right, thank you, sir. Really appreciate that. Okay, next I believe we'll move on to this other business. So with regards to other business, I wanted to bring up that during our next meeting, we will be selecting a new student representative. And it's part of our bylaws. So what I'm going to do is work with Karen to get out some information so that we're in tune and also in line in terms of what our expectations are with regards to the student representative. As we know, the SGA president is voted on by the student body, but with regards to the student representative that we have in place today, I want to make sure that we have alignment before we move in that direction, right? So there's certain things we're going to care for, and I could read it out, but versus reading, I could report out to you. We'll get you the information you need, and what I ask is that you work closely with me if you would like to see certain things cared for so we can be properly framed and all have the same frame of reference in terms of as we're selecting, in terms of what we expect to get out of the student representative. Okay? You're in a good place there? Okay, any other new business? No. Okay, all right. Give me 1 second here as I do the great paper shuffle. Anything from you, Mr. President? Da, 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 da.
Nothing from me, Rector.
Oh, boy. I need another wingman. Your wingman is supposed to buy you at least 20 seconds, right? Anything from you, Mr. President? No, I'm good. Okay, all right. Okay, good deal. Well, I think there are no other issues. I want to start out by thanking everybody for a solid meeting today, including the vice presidents and those in the room for help supporting some of our key initiatives. As we close out another year, I want to take a moment to reflect on and express my gratitude. This year has been filled with opportunities, achievement, and growth, and none of it would have been possible without each of you. And by each of you, I mean not only those around this table and those on the table over there, but also everyone in the community that helps support Radford University, as well as all the staff, no matter how junior at Radford University, because we all play a key role in terms of making sure this university is a success. I want to thank you for your hard work and unwavering commitment to this great university. Together we have accomplished so much, and I trust that each of you are as proud as I am in terms of what we've delivered. And when I say each of you, once again, that doesn't hold itself just to this room, but people across the university, including the students. What I'd like to encourage us to do is carry this momentum forward into the next year. in terms of the successes that we've had. And by the way, we've all had lofty goals as we move forward. And what we've proven to ourselves and others is that there is a higher gear, and we've found that higher gear, and we're going to keep progressing in a great fashion. So I'd like to wish all of you a happy holiday season with your family members, and everyone stay safe and blessed during the holiday season. And once again, thank you for your commitment. All right? All right. Have a good holiday. Thank you. All right. Adjourn. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you, sir.